Hey guys, it's ANicWin, also known as Amy, and happy Wednesday. I hope you're having a lovely day. This is university housing here in Britechester. I wanted to take a short break, almost like a palate cleanser from cottage living and Henford on Bagley and all of that stuff. So this felt like a natural sort of extension of that because this is also modeled after a section or region rather of England. I have no idea which one. I have no clue. If I had to guess, it'd probably be the Oxford area, but I don't know. So let's not take that as fact. I also have never successfully completed a build in Britechester. This isn't a world that I usually play in. It's definitely not one that I visit because the weather system is just a little bit wonky and it rains. It's always rainy, and I do have UI cheats. I can fix that, but sometimes you just don't want to. And I don't know. So just for that reason alone, I'm not really encouraged to visit this lot all the time, which is unfortunate because it is one of my most used expansion packs, but here we are. So my premise with this build is that this is housing, it's two separate apartments technically, but it's housing for 4 university students that attend Britechester. So there are 4 separate bedrooms, there are 3.5 baths, there's also laundry, and then the living spaces are shared. So there's like a kitchenette, there's an actual living space. There is a skill building room and a study area, and you can actually access both units through an archway. You don't have to go out and use the exterior doors. I just wanted it to look like it was 2 separate units from the exterior. So that's what's happening there. You'll also notice that I do some of the landscaping here in the beginning and the front, and then I pop into the interior and I do the floor plan. And I believe I go ahead and pop down wall coverings or wallpaper. I don't know why I called it wall coverings, but wallpaper and flooring. And that was mostly, I just needed to know where the windows and doors were going to be because I knew there was going to be a back door before I fleshed out the rest of the landscaping. So that was my main concern. I also knew that this was going to be a Britechester student housing, so I wanted to kind of have it in my head like where everything was going to be placed. And that really is kind of a redundant sentence, but that's why I did that. I started the landscaping and was like, wait, hold on. I need a plan, pause, and I jumped in really quickly. Floor planning is one of my favorite things to do when building. It's honestly, it's something I will intentionally drag out because I'm having fun. It's not one of those like, oh, I can't figure it out, I'm so frustrated. It's usually a, I can't figure this out, this is so fun problem for me. Now sometimes it is frustrating, I won't lie, but most of the time it's fun. It's a fun time. So this one was fairly simple because it's 2 rectangles put together. There's not really anything crazy that you can do. I also knew that I wanted the stairs to be on platforms because I wanted like an additional stair at the bottom, just one. I wanted one step, a single solitary step. And so I went ahead and placed those, and I knew where I wanted those in relation to the doors. So that was pretty simple. I briefly thought about making it a 5th bedroom, so you'll see kind of an equal space up on the the left hand side. I ended up splitting that into 2 bathrooms because I decided not to have 5 bedrooms. And I already made the split. I talked over it, I guess. But yeah, so the floor planning, that just kind of gives you an insight into where my brain was as I was kind of thinking about what type of rooms would go in here and who would kind of live here. And I go ahead and pick out the wallpaper and the flooring. Like I said, I went gray. I like the neutral, especially for something like student housing. I don't know, where any of you guys are in life, but I've lived in student apartments. I've lived in other apartments as well, but when you rent one that's pre-furnished because it's part of a university or whatever, it is like stark white, and the furniture is obviously stock furniture. Like, it's not anything super great, but it's free, so why not, We then jump into the rest of the landscaping. I decide to give them a bike rack. There's a little bit of clutter around the bikes themselves. I give them the juice table, or the juice pong table, as that one's called, with the Britechester mascot. I think it's the dragon. and the other one's a lobster, if I'm remembering correctly. I looked them up at one time. I used to know what their names are, and I can't remember. I also gave them a little juice keg because it's university. Like, why not, right? That's your time to kind of explore and party and figure out who you are socially. And off camera, I add a few more decorations to this section. I went back when it was all completed and added a few things as filler. So you might see some small changes in between now and the screenshots. They're not major changes. I didn't change anything significant. Maybe a color swatch here. I added a few clutter items there. It wasn't anything crazy, but I think it made the difference. So maybe I should have recorded it. I don't know. It's too late. I definitely didn't record it, and I can't. There's no way for me to go back. So I apologize. I also give them some seating out here. Now, this isn't with the idea that there are only 3 chairs because one of the roommates just doesn't get along with everybody. Although maybe that's how you want to play it. that could make things a little bit spicy. But it was more so the idea that if you had guests over, like if someone had their friends over, they could be outside away from everyone else if they wanted to be. That was more so the thought. But you can obviously play this however you want to play it. It just depends. I didn't make these Sims and I'm probably not going to, so it really could be open for interpretation. This first Sim, or this first bedroom, I thought maybe this was for a fine arts major, so someone who was going to go into interior design or something like that. So I did lean pretty heavily on the Dream Home Decorator pack, and I really like this room. I liked that it was so easy to kind of reflect what the sim was going to be interested in without furniture, like without changing the furniture. I guess that's not like, that sounds so simple, but it's such an interesting challenge because you'll typically pick furniture to match a certain aesthetic. Well, in my parameter that I set for myself, the furniture had to stay, so it was fun to kind of rely more so on the clutter, on the colors, on things like that to really show what kind of a sim was in this particular room. So that was interesting. I don't know if you've noticed, the bedrooms are not big enough to have desks in the room, at least not all 4 of them. So I do put a studying what? I put a study nook, that's what I was trying to say, on this landing here. I also put 1 desk in one of the rooms on the opposite side, and I have 2 desks in the study section, or study room, downstairs on the opposite side. So there's plenty of computers. You don't really need to worry about that. If you don't want to use the desktops and you'd rather have a laptop, there's also a dining room table. So you have options, but just know that even though it's not in the room, there are still accessible computers for every single sim to use. So you won't have to share with anyone, because that is one of the most annoying things about communal living, is having to share things, because it never fails. Someone has something that you need right when you need it. Then we jump into the second bedroom here. I imagine this sim is here on an athletic scholarship. They clearly play soccer. I liked the idea of mixing soccer posters from when they were a child plus posters from events and games that they played as a university student. I also give her the punching bag because I thought it was funny. I honestly couldn't explain why. And then I throw these pendants on the corkboard here. I thought that was just a nice little touch to kind of show, like, maybe that was her high school team and then she's got her university team. So she's definitely one of the more loyal Sims in the house. And she's obviously not afraid to rep that Britechester green and yellow. She's all about it. I jump back to the landing very briefly just to add a chair and a musical instrument or two. I can't remember how many I leave. And then we hop over to the third bedroom. I was initially going to make this a 2-bed bedroom and just have like 6 Sims in this house. It felt way too small. So I actually split them up so it remains just 4 bedrooms. This Sim I'm imagining to be either a drama major or a literature major. That's why she's got a skull. I'm like channeling some Shakespeare there, and I can't remember if it was Hamlet. Was it Macbeth? It was one of those plays. Shakespeare was not, it did not spark joy for me. I actually really dislike reading Shakespeare. But that's just me. That's kind of what I was channeling here. And I did give her the desk with the typewriter computer. It's actually just a computer. But I decided that she was going to be the one to be into the more like vintage items and things like that. So she had it for her art. You know, she's like one of those. I love her. This is the Sim that I adore. This is kind of who I would like to be, but I'm not, you know what I mean? Like I'm just not. And I'm just adding a few clutter items. I really like the color scheme of her room as well. My childhood room, my room back at my parents' house, is actually that shade of bluish green with green trim. So I mean, maybe it's just cozy to me, I'm not sure, but I really enjoy that color. I like it a lot, especially in this particular room. This landing is a lot smaller than the other landing, so there's not really anything happening. There's a chair and a plant, and we move on, and then we move into the 4th bedroom. Now I'm imagining this Sim is probably like a biology or physics major, and they're into robotics. Now robotics is associated with Foxbury because they've got the distinguished degree, but they ended up at Britechester anyway. Maybe they're not going for the honors route, they just want to do something simple, and this was the university they chose. They're also into gaming, and basically they're just like a nerd, and I love this Sim as well because I relate. But their room is a little bit darker than the rest of them, and I actually really enjoyed this room too. I like the shape of this one. This one felt a little bit more cozy. And then we jump down into the living room. So this is going to be the actual living room. There's 2 living rooms. The other one's a study. I was trying to put this bookshelf behind the couch. It was just a little too big. So I did this thing with the lights. Now I've never done, well, I have, but I haven't done this, I guess. I like to use wall lights as almost like an art piece. And in this case, I took 2 from Discovery University and then a bunch of these eco lifestyle lights, and I just kind of scattered them about. It looked almost like something sciencey. I don't know. I really enjoyed it though. That was a ton of fun to be creative with and just to make. I also included 2 framed posters because if you're in college, you do not have the budget to be buying good artwork, and that's just unfortunate but true. So I imagine those are just ones that they framed with like Dollar Tree frames, and they threw it up on the wall because they liked it. And then I'm adding some clutter to the mantelpiece. I'm imagining that plant, the bookshelf, the clutter, the TV, all of that was furnished by the apartment. It's not like clutter they necessarily picked out, but they're just going with it. Like maybe they have the apartment that people visit, like they walk through. What do they call that? I can't think of what it's called now, but the apartment for show. So they got some of the leftover clutter because they were placed last in the unit or something. I have no idea. But I swap out that bookshelf. I was really trying to use it and it just did not work. It wasn't, I wasn't vibing with it for some reason. And I swapped to this. I think this is also Dream Home Decorator. I liked all the books. I don't know. I honestly just like the shape of it. I thought it fit in a little bit better with the interior than the other bookshelf did. I add some clutter, not really sure what any of it means. I didn't get too personalized with it since I wasn't imagining that it was a personalized thing. I did throw in that chair because that's one of my favorite chairs in the game, and I decided now or never, so I chose now. And then we are about to jump into the kitchenette here. Now, Sims in University cannot have a stove, which is strange, but okay. So I gave them instead 2 microwaves. They have a, what is that, the grinder and the espresso machine, and then I gave them a teapot. I also, of course, gave them a sink. I did use the counter trick to kind of place them wherever I wanted to place them. I didn't have any routing issues, but if you do, I apologize in advance. You can just pick up the item and replace it. It'll clip naturally, and it will make it more usable. But like I said, I didn't experience any routing issues, and knock on wood, you don't either. I do add some clutter. I'm imagining that most of this is stuff that was left behind. Like the spice rack is like some sketchy salt and pepper that got left. The plates are probably plastic. The utensils have been used. They got like 6 forks, and that's just like what they have. And there's a few items that they've all brought in collectively, but they keep it separated because they each have their own stuff. You know, a genuine university experience. And I do give them a mini fridge in favor of a full-size fridge. There's actually 3 on this lot. There's one in the kitchen, one in one of the bedrooms, and there's one in the study nook. So there is access to a fridge pretty much wherever you are. I really like the kitchen, even though it's not a typical normal kitchen. I think it turned out really well. Then we jump into the skill building room. Here it's a bunch of creative logic and the robotic station items. I basically just wanted kind of a catch-all space for Sims to come get their learn on. And I pretty much succeeded. There's not a ton of decoration in here. That was also by design. It was by a choice, but there is some, because if this is a communal space, you really won't have a ton of customization and personality showing in a room that is shared by everyone. And then here in just a moment, we'll pop over into the final room, which is the study area. And this is actually where I'm going to leave you guys. So as always, feel free to leave a like or comment down below, letting me know what you think. You can also subscribe if that's something that would spark joy for you. I will be posting the screenshots on Instagram, and I will see you on Saturday when I post my next video. In the meantime, I hope you have a lovely day and a lovely rest of your week. Bye, guys.
I never thought breakups were pretty. You told a lie, I let you go. You started the words that I completed, but that was then, so long ago. I told you then, like I say now, that we were golden. Now you're not here, you brought us down, I told you so. Oh, how I wish I didn't care, that we were okay, that I could just erase, rewind, let it roll. Meet me back here next year, and I'll be fine by then. We were on a high, but now we're letting go, and finding the way back is all I know. All I know. From now, I'm thinking about myself, I'm minding just my own. So when we meet again, I'm fine by then. Fine by then. I'll be fine by then. I go to bed to get up early. I go to work and not much change. I met a girl and she's quite funny, but I'm not quite there, ready for love. It's been alright without you here, though it was better when you were there right by my side that long ago. Oh, how I wish I didn't care if I was okay, that I could just erase, rewind, let it roll. But now I've been there and done that, and now I'm fine by then. We were on a high, but now we're letting go.